The State of Crypto is presented by Tron, connecting the world to the power of cryptocurrency.
Welcome back, everyone. It's time to check in with everyone's favorite CoinDesk Global Policy and Regulation Managing Editor, Nick Day, who is also editor of CoinDesk State of Crypto newsletter. Morning, Nick.
Good morning.
So, if there's a knock on Sam Bankman-Fried's door, it might be 1 million people lined up with their hands out wanting their money back, correct?
Yeah, so we finally got a look at the actual process that FTX is going through right now. They finally filed a document in their bankruptcy court saying, all right, here's what's going on now. This is after the company filed for bankruptcy on Friday, November 11th. It was a pretty chaotic, I think is the right word here, pretty chaotic filing. A lot of companies were listed. Some of those were not actually FTX companies, and we're very surprised to discover that they were on this bankruptcy filing. There was no, narrative document explaining how they got to the point that they were filing for bankruptcy, and there was really a lot of confusion. So what we finally got late yesterday was a document from the bankruptcy lawyers for FTX saying, "All right, so here's how it went down." They noted that they talked about how there was a concern that FTX might be insolvent, that Sam Bankman-Fried, the now former CEO, stepped down at 4:30 in the morning on Friday before they filed for bankruptcy. They referenced the hack on Friday night that happened when hundreds of millions of dollars worth of crypto were taken out of FTX's wallets, although they didn't provide a lot of detail. The lack of detail is actually, I think, a common thread because there were a lot of details that we did not see in this filing. We don't have a firmer sense of the assets or liabilities. We don't actually have a firm head count on how many creditors they have. But to your point, FTX did say we might have over 1 million creditors. And they say that because of the sheer number of companies that are involved, over 100 companies filed, and they all could have hundreds of thousands of creditors.
Now, when you say FTX filed, this is the new CEO. There is no board. This is just complete. It sounds like it's complete chaos. I mean, you figure that they could have ended their filing with, and we're called the aristocrats.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely sounds chaotic. It does sound like the new CEO, John Ray III, who, we've written about him before. He's formerly at Enron. He's got a long history of taking over companies that are in the various stages of being insolvent, and helping either wind them down or push them through that process. So this is what he seems to be very good at, and he has appointed a board of individuals to kind of oversee some of the companies. So there's a former federal judge. They have people who are going to kind of act as the heads of Alameda, FTX Trading, Clifton Bay Investments, which is another company under this broader umbrella. But it is definitely going to be, I think, continue to be a chaotic process. There's over 100 filings in Pacer, the federal court database right now, and a lot of these companies are also not based in the U.S. So we're looking at, for example, we heard overnight that FTX Japan, formerly known as Liquid, has shut off withdrawals. So I imagine there's going to be a process in Japan, there's going to be a process in Turkey, there's going to be a process in the Bahamas. It's going to be a very, very wide-ranging, very broad bankruptcy process.
Meanwhile, the Bahamian Supreme Court has approved liquidators for FTX assets. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so PricewaterhouseCoopers, which is a pretty big consultant firm, has apparently been asked to provide a couple individuals to act as liquidators for FTX. What's not clear to me yet is just, to what extent they're going to be immediately liquidating things. Obviously, this is going to be this is going to be a drawn out process. So I imagine the first step is just going to be figuring out what exactly FTX's assets are, both in the Bahamas and elsewhere. And based on the filing from last night, it doesn't sound like they have a firm grasp just yet of what that looks like. Obviously, there was that balance sheet that the Financial Times reported on over the weekend that suggested it's less than $1 billion worth of assets. But also that balance sheet was a Excel document that, for lack of a better way to phrase this, did not appear to be overly professional. So the first step is probably going to be just figuring out what is there to liquidate. What are the assets? What does FTX still have, besides the penthouse that they're trying to sell?